Hi, this is Martin Moscrop from A Certain Ratio, and you're listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast, music and football episodes.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm your host Daz. This is my music and football episode where I bring on a DJ, musician, promoter that love the two loves of life, and for me that is music and football. Obviously family is always first, but music and football go hand in hand for me. My guest today is one of the founding members of A Certain Ratio. He's a musician, he's a lecturer, and dare I say it, he's a Man United supporter. So the banter will be good today, I'm sure. Martin, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hiya.
It is so good to have you on. I remember being a 16-year-old and listening to, when I was 16, well, I was into a lot of like electro music back in the day, but then listening and hearing you guys' album in '86 just kind of blew me away, because at the time, you've got like the 80s kind of dance music, you had electro, you had a bit of indie, and John Peel for me was a god. Anything that he played I wanted to track down and find. And it's same with your band as well for me. Everything you've put out, it's always different, and you cannot pigeonhole the band. When you think you're going to do this jazz and fusion, bam, it's more dancey or more indie, more like even like samba Brazilian. You're just like, what's next? So all I can say from me, being a big supporter of the band, is thank you, for everything.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you recognise that we actually try and switch things around quite a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that keeps us interested in what we're doing because we make music first and foremost for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people like it, that's an added bonus. But we've never ever tried to sort of go out of the way to please our audience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the wrong way of making music.
Yeah, and I think it shows as well. I mean, when you're up, I mean, the best part is obviously playing live. Because you feed off one another, and you can see it. I've seen you quite a few times live, and you can see it. All the musicians on that stage are just having a good time playing what they love to play. And yes, it's great when especially like DJs as well. DJing to one person, is a bit kind of strange because there's not much of a feedback, but you're still getting the feedback. But when you DJ, you're still DJing for yourself, because you're loving what you play. And same thing with a band as well, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm sure it's nice for you, Martin, and the rest of the band to just look up and see everyone else having a good time, because that's what it's about. It's about,
yeah, yeah,
you live in this, a mundane life, and unless you're, Mr. Billionaire and you've got everything you've ever wanted, most of us are all working class, and come, Monday through Friday, we're working our asses off for, a paycheck. And to go out and see our favorite band or a brand new band that we've never heard of, but just take us away for a couple of hours from our daily lives, and that's got to be great for you guys doing it for so long as well.
yeah. We played in Belfast Friday just gone, and it's the second time we played in Belfast, and the Belfast audience are just so appreciative because not a lot of bands go out there. So when you do go out there, they have a really good time, and the audience was great. There was such a mad range of ages as well, from like 19 years old, someone I met, met someone that was 23. I met a couple that were 30. Right up to our age, which is great seeing such a cross section of generations at a gig. And it's nice when you do a gig. It doesn't matter whether it's in front of 3 people or 3,000 people. If there's a connection between yourselves as the band and yourselves and the audience, then it just really works. The chemistry works. You don't know exactly what makes it work. I suppose it's the same as with a football team. You could have a set of 11 brilliant players playing a team much lower down in the league than them, but there's just sometimes that team will just connect and the chemistry will just really work and they'll play the socks off. And it's a similar thing with music. What you said there about DJing is what I always had this attitude to DJing that I wanted to educate people and make them give them the experience of hearing new things that they'd never heard. But then I read something that I saw an interview with David Rodigan, and he said the DJ's job is to entertain, not to play tunes that nobody knows or to try and educate them, but to give them something that they know and make them happy. And I thought about it and I thought, in a way he's right. And just seeing that interview made me go into my next DJ gig with a totally different attitude. And I think it was at the Golden Lion I replaced Giles Peterson because he had a family matter. So I was playing to a load of people who'd all paid to see Giles Peterson. And I only got told asked on the morning of the gig. And I pulled my set together really quickly before the gig. And I thought, right, I'm going to throw in a few tunes that I know they'll know, And it just really, really worked. And because the tunes that I knew that they'd really know, in between some tunes that I knew they wouldn't know, the ones that they didn't know really worked because of the ones that they did know set the scene, and made the whole thing work. So, yeah, I changed my attitude towards playing records after hearing him say that.
Well, I think it's 50-50, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to play like all the bangers. Like that to me, like, I mean, I saw an interview with David Guetta, and he kind of said the same thing. He goes, there's DJs and then there's entertainers. He goes, I'm an entertainer. He's going to play 2 hours of just hit after hit after hit. To me, that's boring. Well, I don't want to go and see a DJ playing hit after hit. That I might as well, when I was 15, going to my local YMCA disco where the DJ would just play nothing but hits. I don't want that as a punter. I want somebody that's going to challenge me, for me to kind of, try like be that train spotter, kind of like, oh crap, what is that song? It's kind of like John Peel did,
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. I agree with you totally, and there's nothing better than hearing a song for the very first time. That sort of journey that it takes you on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've always tried to do when I've DJed. But I'll mix it up more now. And it depends on what the gig is as well, really.
Well, I mean, you look out, when you look up, and if people are half-assed dancing, you're going to go, okay, in about 5 minutes, I'll throw something in that they kind of know to get the crowd up, and then you can go back to kind of putting stuff in that they've never heard before, and they'll follow you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand the hit after hit thing.
No.
but a lot of DJs, you know, especially some of the younger generation, look up at, you know, their peers and go, you know, I should be banging it at 9 o'clock at night. It's like, no, 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 no. Learn the art of DJing. Learn the art of being a warm-up DJ, you know, because I feel they're not given kind of their kudos, warm-up DJs, you know, because a lot of people go for the headliners. You know,
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
that's why they pay the money, but the DJ who's a warm-up, he sets the night or she sets the night. And, you know, that there's no slapping on the back like good job. They just get on with it. That's why I have
yeah,
so
yeah.
respect for resident DJs.
Yeah, Boggy's one of the best in the business, and he gets his gig with the Chemical Brothers. He's been their tour DJ for many years because he's perfect at warming up that crowd, ready for them for Chemical Brothers coming on, without doing the obvious, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's, you know, years of experience. That's
Yeah,
of, you know, going being a resident or being a warm up DJ and taking hours and hours of like finding out, you know, how to start a night and how to sequence into, you know, the headlining act. So yeah, it takes
yeah,
dedication. I mean, you might play to, you know, 10 people, you might play to 1,000 people, but that's just the way it is. But um,
mm.
I do want to ask you what your roots and early influences are in music. Um, I always like to know what your mum and dad were playing in your house as a kid, and did that have influence on you?
Yeah. Well, it was my older brother actually who died when I think I was 11 when he died, or maybe, yeah, maybe 11 or 12. He was an avid record collector, and he not record collecting today's sense, but he used to buy a couple of 7-inch singles every Friday, and usually an album, you know. And he had quite a big record collection for somebody in the late 60s, early 70s. He had a lot of Rolling Stones. He had quite a few Beatles records. I used to say the Beatles are better than the Stones, and it used to drive him really mad. And he used to chase me. I used to have to lock myself in the bathroom. But he really got me into music. I remember him teaching me to play Pictures of Matchstick Men by Status Quo on the guitar. Um, I think he was the person responsible for getting me to really like music. My sister probably as well, but she liked the sort of softer side of stuff like Simon and Garfunkel and stuff like that. My mum would be listening to Engelbert Humperdinck, Tom Jones. My dad would listen to people like Frank Sinatra and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I was really lucky being born in 1960, because the 60s and 70s were some of the best years for all types of music. You know, it'd be soul, rock, pop, whatever. It's when music was still 100% organic and still happening. Um, so yeah, my musical journey started in those places, and then when I was 16, or when I was 15 actually, punk happened, you know. And I'd only just before punk happened, I'd bought my first guitar, and all of a sudden, and the Clash album just blew my head. I mean, Buzzcocks Spiral Scratch EP first of all, and the Buzzcocks, and then the Clash, and it just I could play punk on my guitar, even though I'd not had any lessons. I learnt a bar chord and could write my own punk songs, you know, not lyrically but musically. And some mates at school, we formed a punk band and had 2 rehearsals, I think, and split up because due to musical differences, because the drummer liked the Beatles. And then I joined a glam punk band from Stockport called Alien Tint. And then ACR happened. So, yeah, punk was the thing that really got me into playing music. And then because punk died a death really quickly, I'd say punk really lasted for 1976 and 1977. By 1988, if you were cool, you just didn't want to be. Sorry, 1977. By 1978, you wouldn't want to hear, you wouldn't entertain a punk tune. You know, it was really old. In fact, you were trying to be as far away from punk as possible by then. So, you know, that's where ACR came in, was sort of almost anti-punk in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm a '70s kid, so I was born in '70, and
Yeah.
I got kind of that I listened to my sister's records. She was into like punk as well, and it was. I mean, as a 6, 7 year old, you don't really understand music that much. I mean, for me, the Jam were very big for me as a 10-year-old. I started because I like lyrics, and it gave me that teenager like angst kind of, fuck the government kind of thing, working class vibes. But yeah, I mean, I love the Clash. If I can transport myself back, I would love to have been at the birth of punk. It just seemed, especially like, I mean, for yourself as well, the '60s was still a bit like kind of rock and roll, like you said, the Stones and the Beatles. You were either one or the other. That was so weird. My dad was into heavy metal. It was more, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and then my mum was the Soulstress, into, Northern Soul, Elvis, the Beatles. So I got a bit of both worlds in mine, and I'm so happy I did, because I as long as the music for me is passionate and it moves me, then I love it. It doesn't matter what genre it is.
Mm.
So yeah, I just love all kinds of music. But for you going back then, I mean, you know, punk to a young kid, I mean, for yourself must have been eye opening.
Yeah, it was, and being a punk as well was an eye opener. I remember my first day at college at Stockport College. I just started as an apprenticeship as a apprentice at a factory, and I went to, because you had day release for college. My first day at college, I walked into the canteen in a pair of pink tight trousers with zips on them, and my hair was dyed sort of a auburn red colour, and the whole canteen just went silent as I walked in, and then a few people started sniggering and laughing. But I just thought, yeah, and I was on my own. There's no one with me. I just thought, yeah, all right. You fucking know who I am now, don't you? Because I'm different to all you stiffs, you know. Um, and I remember also coming home from work one day as a 16-year-old apprentice and getting chased down the road by a load of kids ranging from 8 to like 10 years old, going punk rocker, punk rocker, punk rocker, punk rocker. So in the very early days of punk rock, it was there was only a few of us about.
Well, my sister was the same. I mean, she
Yeah.
she dyed her hair so many damn colours, and she had the mohawk and the nose pierced. I mean, nose piercing now, every other person's got it. But like back in like '70s, walking around town like that, you get stares. But I think in order to kind of dress like that, you've got to have some, attitude, and that's what punk was attitude.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely, yeah.
so yeah, I mean that when you say you come in and everybody's like just the needle scratches on the record. It's like a movie, you know, where the old cowboy comes into the
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, and everybody just stops and just stares. Yeah, it's well, I mean, I think we've all made some fashion faux pas in our lives. I mean, good God, I used to have like I was a scally, so I had the perm in the back, you know, growing like the mullet. And I'm just going, you know, I look at pictures from back in the day going, what were you thinking, Daz? What were you thinking? Like,
Mm,
I wouldn't be caught dead looking like that now. But, you know,
yeah,
that's how we were back then. I mean, that's the
yeah,
thing. We, as kids, you just, you have to be a bit hard headed as well, you know. Don't follow the norm. Don't, you know, I've always, like, I try and teach me kids that as well. Be who you want to be.
mm,
That's it. You know.
yeah. And then sort of when punk died in around 78, when ACR formed, we used to go to Pip's Disco in Manchester, and it had a Bowie and Roxy room. So I'd say in like 78, we were listening to things like Low by David Bowie, anything by Kraftwerk, you know, and anything by Brian Eno, and the Velvet Underground. So a cross section of like electronic and weird stuff. And then shortly after that, we started listening to funk music and jazz. So, you know, it was like from punk to electronic to weird stuff to jazz to funk, all within a space of like 12 to 18 months. So all of those musical influences and inspirations all came together to produce a certain ratio, really.
Well, I mean, like, because I've read, you know, a couple of interviews, and you said like, you know, ACR really liked the way you dressed. So what were you dressing? Obviously, were you wearing in your pink pants by then, were you?
Oh no, no. So the glam punk band I was in was called Alien Tint, and they were all wearing makeup and had like dyed blonde hair, and I had like a quiff and short back and sides, and was wearing like slightly baggy D-mob pants, like old 50s style suit trousers with a white shirt, short sleeve shirt tucked in, quite 50s style, 40s, 50s. Because I used to watch a lot of black and white films on TV, you know, from the 40s and 50s, and really loved the way they all dressed on those old films. And when Pete and Simon saw me on stage, because we were playing Alien Tint in a certain ratio at the Musicians Collective, they thought, what the fuck's he doing in that band? He looks like one of us, you know. And after the after the gig, I said to them, "Oh, I really love your band," and they said, "What are you doing in that band? Why don't you come and join us?" So I said, "All right." So that's how that started.
Well, you first started on trumpet, didn't you? And then guitar.
No, I started on guitar, so we didn't bring in the trumpets till we did Shack Up. Oh, I started at trumpet at school before
Yeah,
guitar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah. You're right. Playing in the brass band, you know, like most people do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I learned my trumpet. But it also, I suppose, it gave me a little bit of musical knowledge, so that when I bought my first second-hand guitar, um, you know, I knew a bit about music, but not a lot.
Can you read music? Because I know like a lot of
No,
musicians are self-taught.
I've never been able to read music. I was head of music at the Manchester College, and You know, people used to ask me all the time, "Can you read music?" And I'd go, "No," and they'd think, "What the fuck? How come you head music?" Because I made more records than you and done more things musically than you. You know, we'd get tutors who taught there who was brilliant at reading music, and they'd never done a gig to more than 20 people. You know, playing at Pizza Express or somewhere like that. You know, so I don't think it's important, and I used to instill it in the students that, you know, struggled with music theory, and that if I could see other talents in them, I'd push that talent more than the theory side. And also, we were one of the first colleges to introduce DJ skills, because I personally saw a gap in, and I got John to come in and teach that, John De Silva. But uh, we used to get all these kids from deprived areas like Moss Side and Levenshulme, young black lads who'd come in, and we were teaching them music technology, um, and which had a certain amount of musical element and a certain amount of theory, and they didn't like that at all, you know, but they were really good at making tunes. So I thought we should be teaching them DJ skills as well, so that they've got a chance of working as a producer and as a DJ, you know. And it worked, and we produced quite a few successful DJs from the courses. And John was one of the tutors that I employed.
Well, he's a good mentor, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites, Sasha, you know, um, looks up to
yeah,
John. You know, got his first hacienda gig through John.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's great because I mean I can't read music either. You know, I just it's all gobbledygook when I start looking at it. But I think if you have a good ear for music, you can get by because you
yeah,
know you hear that lick in a guitar, you go, I can replicate that, you know, or a piano or you know brass. So I just think you know a lot of kids out there thinking, oh man, you know, I'm not going to make it because I can't understand music. It's like if you have two good ears or even one good ear, you're going to be all right. Again, you got to have the passion for it and the drive, you know.
mm,
I just think you know, I wish there was like, you know, a DJ academy when I was younger as well, you know, to kind of I always wanted to do it, but you know, I couldn't afford turntables back in the day, you know. It was I was buying, you know, one 7 inch every week as well, or an album, you know, bringing it home and listening to on the old spaceship thing where what my dad had, you know, it had the record player, the 8 track, it looked like a flying saucer. Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous looking, but I would love to have one now, just because
yeah,
of it looked, you know, shiny and looked like a damn spaceship. But yeah, it's just I think you know the more you can help the young kids because a lot of the kids you know they go to trade schools now. I mean that's the big difference I think between kind of like America and back home is you know we finish school at 16 and most of us bam you're on a job site, you know, working. That's the way it is, you know. College was so far away from what I thought, you know, until I came over here. You know, it's just different. But yeah, if we can help kids anyway with, you know, getting into music, you know, putting a guitar in their arms, getting them on a set of, you know, turntables, CDJs, whatever, you know, I think it's great. Um, Wanted to ask you because you know, your early like touring was pretty crazy because I think a lot of bands like 808 State and Spiral Carpet, as well as yourselves, were coming over to America early on, you know, and getting those gigs in, you know, the middle of nowhere. And I think that's why there's a big like kind of indie scene in America is because they were starved of that for years, and then all these British bands came over and just opened again their ears to something they'd never heard, and then it was like, I want more of this. And you guys, it's insane. Madonna opens up, for yous lot. Like I mean, that's mind blowing, to where she's at today. She's the queen of pop. And what were you thinking? Like, I mean, did you meet her beforehand, or was she just like,
Yeah,
you
I
just told
mean,
her she's on the
don't
bill?
forget, Madonna was nobody at the time. So, but we were more interested in Jelly Bean, who was her producer, who had a 4-track tape machine that he put at the back of the stage, and he went onto the stage to press play for her and her 2 dancers. She was just miming; she didn't even sing. She sounded like she looked like she was going to be a star, and the music was really good because Jelly Bean was producing it. But yeah, she was just this young girl who Sire had actually paid for it, bought her on to support us because they wanted to watch her. So she was, you call them a buy on, usually, yeah, it's someone who's paid to play, really. So, yeah, didn't really think anything of it at the time. I mean, we were more interested in, the fact that we were playing in New York, and John Lydon was at that gig. He was upstairs at the. It was our end of tour rap party, and I remember him being there. Um, there was always a lot of sort of famous people who came to our gigs in New York. So Madonna was small fry compared to a lot of them. I think in the same years when we met Tyrone Downey, who was Bob Marley's and the Wailers, the keyboard player, and he took us to his apartment, and his apartment was just a big studio, recording studio, and we jammed in there for hours. To me, that's a better memory than Madonna supporting us.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I know David Byrne, Talking Heads, is a massive, supporter of you as well. And you've toured with Talking Heads. That's a surreal moment as well, because I mean, David
Yeah,
Byrne to me, he's just magical.
yeah. Well, that was 1979, and I was 18, 19 at the time. And even though touring heads weren't mega famous, they were playing halls the size of Manchester Apollo, like 2,500 people. So they were pretty big, and they just taught us so much about being a professional band. Their sound engineer famously said we sounded like a fire in a pet shop. Tina Weymouth had to teach us to tune our guitars. They had a strobe, a guitar tuner, and she used to help us tune the guitars before we went on, so we'd be a bit more in tune. And yeah, they were really supportive of us, and they taught us a lot. I think from that tour, we turned into a professional band, really.
Well, I mean, it's always good, again, to look up to people and know what they're talking about, and that that's what I mean with like a lot of bands of today. A lot of Scouse bands like coming out that just they've got good heads on their shoulders. They know what they want.
Mm.
They're not like, I think some of the '80s bands, like a lot of them got messed up. Drugs and alcohol and everything. And their live show to me when you see a band live, that's when you know have they got it or not. You know, you can buy an album and in a recording studio you can pitch perfect vocals and everything. You know, if you have a good engineer and a master, all that good stuff. But when you see a band live, that's when I know, like, all right, they sound better than what they do on the album.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's what you want. You know.
yeah. That's part of the problem was when we made our first proper album with Martin Hannett, two each. Everyone used to say, you sound better live than you do on record. And that's when we decided to produce our own album the next time round, which was Sextet, which was probably our most successful album, you know, which we produced ourselves. So, yeah, it's very true, you know. Quite often the energy and the feel of a band is lost when you go in the studio. But I mean, I do like studio craft. I love making something out of nothing in the studio, so it can work both ways, you know. But on our last album, it all comes down to this, which was quite an indie album. We decided to use a producer, and we wanted to work with Daniel Carey because we liked the idea of doing something where we wrote the songs as a band and then played live in the studio, and everything was done in live takes with the vocals overdubbed and minimum overdubs, you know, and the album's got a very raw, organic feel because of it. But then I liked the album before that, 1982, which was a real studio album, and a lot of the songs were built using electronic stuff and that. And I like both those approaches, you know.
Now, in the band, is there a consensus where you're kind of all involved in like every aspect of the album, or is there like one or two of you that take the lead and?
No, we're all involved in everything really. Me, Don, and Jez. I think Ellen, who sings with us, described us as a triangle. You know, the way that we work, and I mean, we work really, really well together. But I think my love is being in the studio, so I think I always try and have an end vision of how a song should turn out. So if it's Jez's idea or Donald's idea, leaving aside any ideas, is if it originated from either one of them, I will always sneakily try and steer that tune in the direction that I hear it, you know. Obviously, if it's an idea of mine that's growing, it's easy to steer it in that direction because I'm not really. You've got more control over it. But yes, I do. I like working in the studio, and I'd say that I do have sort of. I do have a real love of production, you know.
Are you a technology geek?
I am, but with age, my technology geekiness has deteriorated a bit. What I am good at is recording. I've had a lot of experience at recording live stuff. I'm really good at making live drums sound good. I'm good at recording bass. I'm good at recording vocals. So, yes, there's not a lot of people who produce now are just good at using software, plugins, and a computer. I'm good at recording live stuff, and I can get away with all the technology enough, you know. to use it as a good tool. But I'm no geek. I'm more of a recording geek than I am a technology geek. That's what I used to teach at college, was music production and sound recording.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around Ableton. I'm more of like a touch person, you know, with synths and stuff, hardware. I've got to be able to touch it, feel it, you know, mess around with it rather than stare at a computer screen all day and try and get sounds from, you know, Ableton or Pro Tools or whatever. Yeah, it's one of those. If Ableton was a physical thing, I would have thrown it out the window many times.
Yeah,
It just some people get it straight away. Me, I'm still, you know, baby steps. But yeah, having that physical like thing right in front of me, you know, able to use it and get that sound. I love it. I even love just turning the synths on. You know, you get
yeah,
that buzz. It's again, you know, people will call me a weirdo. I've got that brand new vinyl smell that I love, and then the sound of turning a synth on.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just very strange. Some of my mates are just like, "You're off your rocker, you are, Daz,"
Yeah.
and I don't care. What? Why do you think, like, you know, especially Manchester, you know, you've had the Joy Divisions, the New Order, the Smiths, Spirals, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, yourselves. You know, it just seems to be something in the water in Manchester with bands that just produce such eclectic music. But
But it's having the infrastructure and the people there that make it possible. So for me, the infrastructure was having Pips, was having the Electric Circus, was having the Factory Club, then the Hacienda, and all the other venues like the Boardwalk, and you know, all the clubs and the venues, having the rehearsal spaces, having the right amount of studios. And then just outside of Manchester, we had Cargo Studios where all the Scousers and the Manx used to go and record because it was cheaper than Manchester and Liverpool. And having that infrastructure to do that sort of stuff. And then having the people like Tony Wilson and Richard Boone, you know, with the Buzzcocks and all the people that really loved music, the promoters, the club owners, the venue owners. You know, it's not just the people forming bands who make that scene. It's the people who provide them with the tools to make that scene happen, you know, who are just as important. And I think Liverpool's got it at the moment. You know, you go to Liverpool, there's quite some good sort of community hubs, and there's some good rehearsal spaces, and there's the infrastructure there for bands to grow, you know, and lots of good little venues in Liverpool. You know, so if you're a young band wanting to get gigs, there's opportunities there for you, and I think it's that makes scenes grow. You know.
Well, I know, you know, obviously Factory Records and Tony were a big influence on you as well. And, you know, to read also that you never really signed to Factory. It was more of like Tony asking you, do you want to make records? You know, basically a handshake, I would think. If you want to come in the studio, make records, you make records. And I love that, you know, rather than the big old, like, you know, sign your name at the bottom. You don't need to read what's in between. You know, the handshake means a
The
lot.
thing, yeah, the thing is, when you start involving lawyers, that's when it becomes very expensive. You know, it's much easier to say, "Do you want to make a record?" Yeah, well, okay, I'll book some studio time. go and make the record and put it out. I suppose we were really trusting of Tony because he was that man off the telly, you know, and you didn't think that man off the telly could rip you off, which he never did. But I think bad business. We didn't benefit from the bad business skills of the company, you know.
Yeah, there was it seems like there was quite a lot of money wasted on quite a few things back then.
Well, the thing is, it was Tony's inheritance that started the label and enabled him to make the factory sampler and then the first single, which was ACR's All Night Party, and then Unknown Pleasures, and also get us out to New York to do our first album. You know, he put all of his own money into it and never took much out of it. You know, everything would go into new projects. So because your money that you'd made off your album was being used to make someone else's album, there was never the cash flow for the bands because it was always going somewhere to be creative again, you know. So, you know, and that's how Factory Records grew and did what they did because it wasn't based on making money, you know. If it was based on making money, they wouldn't have made half the records that they did.
Did you frequent a hacienda much?
Yeah, lots. Yeah. It was like my local pub because we lived in Hume and it was literally 10, 15 minutes walk away. So on a Tuesday night, if you were bored, you'd think, let's go to the hacienda. And you go and sit in there with 10 other people, and then the bouncers would come round and say, I'm really sorry, but we're going to close early because there's not enough people in there. But we used to go there because we got in for free, and it was just like drinking in the pub, really, until it got popular and Acid House took off. Then, because we were still honorary members, I used to go there all the time. In fact, towards the end of the Hass, I used to go and set up a DAT machine when big DJs played in the lighting booth with a cable running from the mixer, and I used to sneakily record all the sets onto DAT.
Wow, I bet you've got some killer.
No, because I sold them all.
Oh.
Sold them all straight away. You know, when clubs used to sell, when record shops used to sell cassettes of DJs, most of those, all the Hacienda ones you saw came from my recordings.
Hey, you know, well, yeah, I used to buy the packs.
Yeah.
3 or 4 cassettes in the pack.
Yeah.
Of all the rave stuff as well. So yeah, no, I went to the hacienda a few times that was on, you know, when it was pretty much closing, and
yeah,
you know, it's just we had Cream in Liverpool, you know, in Quadrant Park, but you know, I used to hear all the stories about hacienda, and it's so cool to have like yourself and had, you know, obviously your mate John De Silva on. And I've had Dave Haslam on before, you know, just to kind of give me a brief history lesson on the hacienda and, you know, what it was all about.
The hacienda was great before the acid house scene took off because we saw so many bands there that you wouldn't normally see, you know, because of the Factory New York connection. All, you know, a lot of acts like Trouble Funk and Madonna and people would come over from the States and play at the hacienda. So it was a good place to see bands before the acid house thing took off, and then the acid house thing was like punk all over again, like a new movement that only this small group of people were aware of, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, because I've had a lot of DJs and producers on here. So you've got the the southern lads, Acid up in London, Acid House started here, and then you've got the Northwest boys who are all like, no, Acid House started in the Northwest. So yeah,
it depends what you mean by acid house started. I mean, there were DJs playing, playing really early stuff at quite a few places, but amongst lots of more commercial records. When you say where did Acid House start, which clubs started playing mainly Acid House? It could have been Shum. It could have been, I think they both happened at the same time, really. The whole ecstasy thing happened when we used to go to America. There used to be someone called Cindy Ecstasy, right from 1982 or 83. You could get hold of ecstasy. So the ecstasy thing started way before Acid House. And then there was a few dodgy Mancs who started bringing ecstasy in 87. And Bez gave me my first E. And, the first night we took it, there might have been about 10 people on it. Then the next weekend there was 20. Then the next weekend there was 40. Then the next weekend there was 80. And it sort of took off really quick. It couldn't help but be but take off, not just because of the music, but because of the euphoria of taking the drug as well. And those two things just happening at the same time just exploded, really.
Well, I mean, I've always said it, just taking ecstasy, just to take it and not having that music, it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be the same. So they both kind of went hand in hand, for me. I mean, I know over in the States too, it was legal for a long time. It was more used for like anxiety drug and for couples therapy to take it. So, it was in abundance. And then obviously, what happened with the mass consumption, it was like, all right, no, we got to make this illegal now. So, with all the troubles in the world, I think a good Mitsubishi or a Dove might help the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Honest, the way it's going. What can we expect? I mean, your last album was 2024, so anything in the works?
We've got a tour. We've got a few summer gigs at the moment. Next week we've got a few more, but we're doing a tour in October where we are. We're playing 2 albums live. One is Sextet and the other is Force, and it's the first time we've ever played 2 albums in full. And when is this going out?
A couple of weeks.
Okay, so I can tell you about this. On the 19th, we're announcing. So we Andy Meacham, Emperor Machine, has reimagined Sextet for us. So I gave him the multi-tracks of Sextet and said, we don't want you to remix it. What we want you to do is go in the studio like remixers used to do in the late 80s, late 70s, early 80s, where they'd get a dance music track and make it a bit more dancey by beefing the drums up, making the bass a bit louder, and bringing out some of the percussive and dancey elements. And that's what remixing used to be. And they used to just extend the track by editing it. So Andy's gone up. He's so made up that we offered it to him because he really liked the album. And he's gone away and he's made it sound like what was in our heads in 1982. But we didn't have the skills or the technology to get that sound. And he's brought it right up to date without changing it, and it sounds absolutely amazing. And then our album Force, we had the guy that produced it with us, Stuart Jammer James. He sadly passed away a few years ago of cancer, and before he passed away, he gave us all the photos, because he used to tour with us and be our tour manager. He gave us all the photographs he had, and he gave us the demos that we made of Force. And we listened to these demos and we thought, fucking hell, they sound really good. And that is the version of Force that we're putting out. So it's basically, because it's the 45th and 40th anniversary of each album, we're putting out these alternative versions of the album along with the original versions, and we're touring both those albums instead of doing something new, because we just need a break from doing new stuff because we've done so much in the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Next year we're going to do some new stuff.
Any chance you're coming to the States?
Two reasons why that is really difficult. One is because of the orange cunt who makes us not want to go there. And the other is because the visas are just ridiculously expensive. As an American musician can come here for, I think it's about 100 quid.
Peanut.
The UK. But we have to pay with the band and the sound engineer near 10 grand.
That's insane, mate. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I've been hearing that from a lot of DJs as well. They're just like, we'll wait 2.5 years and then we'll come back. You know.
Yeah.
The first reason you said, and then the second reason, even for a DJ, it's 2-3 grand.
Yeah.
And if you're only getting paid, 500-600 a gig, it's it's just mental. But yeah, I look forward to I'll be back home. Hopefully, how long's your tour going to be?
It's about 3 weeks, I think. Yeah.
And when is that again?
October.
I might be back for then. I definitely have to be back here though on October 21st, because it's my 20th wedding anniversary. So,
right.
Yeah. If I don't, I might as well just stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah. She won't let me back in the country, but we got to talk about footy now. Man United. Who's your childhood footy hero?
Well, funnily enough, I was speaking to someone about this the other day, and although I'm a Man United supporter, I was actually born in Liverpool because my mum and dad lived in Lancaster at the time, and my mum had complications and had to go to Liverpool Royal Infirmary. So on my passport, it says Liverpool. And when I first got into football when I was a kid, Liverpool were doing really well. And I started off supporting them before we came to the UK on holiday, because we lived in South Africa at the time. My mum and dad went to live in South Africa for a few years. And I went to see Man United with my cousins, and I was just converted from then. And I've been a Man United fan ever since. My dad was a Preston North End fan, but he used to go and watch Preston North End. He used to watch Bolton Wanderers, who were both really good teams at the time. And then he would go and watch Man United and Man City. So my dad was a real football fan who loved going and watching football matches, because you didn't used to see it on the telly. So you had to go to a match, And he brought me up just being into football and used to take me to see quite a few different teams. So it wasn't till I saw United in the early 70s that I really got into Man United. And I would have thought that, obviously you've got George Best, Dennis Law, Bobby Charlton, that late 60s, early 70s team was one that really got me into football. And then obviously when I started going on a regular basis, it was Tommy Docherty's team and people like Lou Macari. Yeah. And then the Gary Neville, Beckham, Giggsy, that youth team when United really took off was a very special moment for Man United fans. So, I've been through lots of ups and downs, but most recently, mostly downs. Apart from, the brilliant decision of getting Carrick on board, and I just had a feeling that it would work, and it did, because he's been trained by Fergie, he knows the United way, and all he's done is instill confidence in the players and made them go out and create, and
Well,
it's
I think that's sometimes that's what you need. I mean, with Amarim, he was so stubborn. He stuck to his system, and the problem was he didn't have the players for that system.
yeah.
And that's why you were losing matches. And you can just look at Bruno. Like, to me, obviously, me supporting Liverpool, I look at Fernandes and I can't stand the bastard. He moans and groans. I've never seen like a captain just moan and groan. But on the footballing part, he's brilliant. You'd want him in any team that you support. You just would. I mean, he can ping. To me, we had that in Trent where he could ping a pass. Same with Gerrard as well. Could ping a pass from 60 yards away, pinpoint. And that's what Bruno does for you. But I think Carrick, and I hate to say it, I hope he does get the job, because I think you need somebody like him at the moment that gets the United way. I think you lost your way. I mean, after Sir Alex left, you've had so many managers. You're starting to sound like Chelsea. It's just rotten to the core. And
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems you kind of had in the last few years is bringing Ronaldo back, because he made it all about himself.
Yeah.
That's not United. That's not the United way. It's just like Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
I think we're very similar in that, it's about the team, not one individual. I think, I mean, you're 30 minutes down the road from us, but we're so separated in different things. But, when you think about it, Liverpool and Manchester are connected through, the canals, obviously, but we're both working class. We support music. We support good football teams, even though like we want to try that one man upmanship, and I think that's healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like the bullshit that's come out over and over again with, the Munich chanting, the Hillsborough chanting. That's just disgusting by knobheads. There's no place in football. I love banter when it's banter, when it's not using somebody's tragedy. I can't stand that. And you get 60-year-old knobheads.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the younger generation look up and
Fat,
just,
bald-headed.
why is that? Why is it always fat
reformed
bald?
daggers?
Yeah. Why is it always fat bald?
Yeah.
And then the youngsters look up at them and go, "Oh, they're singing it. I should sing it." They don't know what they're singing. and that's the problem. But
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing that's similar about Manchester and Liverpool is, you got Liverpool and Everton, and you've got United and City, and it's very similar to us in the Premier League, ups and downs. I think probably Everton haven't had as much success as City or United or Liverpool, but they've always been there, They're always consistently there, and with a good set of fans. So I think Everton and Liverpool have both got amazing fans. United and City have both got amazing fans. I think maybe City's fans have gone a bit more plastic in the last 10 or so years because of their success. They've suffered from what they always used to slag United off about, lots of tourist fans going to matches and stuff. I got a plane from Belfast on Saturday, and the plane was full of City supporters flying from Belfast to Main Road, which is great, I always thought it was United that had all the Irish fans, but obviously City have got them as well,
Well, I mean, success brings people. That's
yes,
what it is. I mean, that's in the music business as well. You're a successful band, you get people, going to the gigs.
But that success is great. I mean, in Manchester, you get some Saturdays there'll be a match on, say City are playing. You'll get someone's on at one of the arenas, or even both of the arenas. You'll get the warehouse projects on, and the whole town will just be full of people, absolutely rammed, every hotel rammed, and if it wasn't for music and football, Manchester would be nothing, And it's the same with Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean that it helps jobs.
The
expansion, like Everton just got their shiny new stadium.
Yeah.
Which I was hoping, last season they were going to go down to the Championship, but they stayed up. I'm one of those where I've got some of my mates are just like, you wouldn't want Everton to go down, and I was like, yeah, I would, just for the season, just so they get that little cockiness, bitterness out of them. And I'm sure maybe you're the same. You wouldn't mind City going down. I think everybody wants City to go down.
Yeah.
Actually, with what they've got going on, but what do you think then for next season? I mean, I know for Liverpool, we've got a lot of stuff to sort out in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Casemiro's leaving the used lot, so midfield you've got to bolster.
Yeah, we've got to bolster, but we also need a consistent manager who we give a chance to, even if it means not being in the top four for a season. I think, even though he's done really well since he started managing United, getting us to third in the table, which is a brilliant achievement. I don't think Rome's going to be built in a day, and I think we just need to be patient next season while we build not just the team but the club back to how it should be, and then maybe the season after we're going to be champions.
Hopefully not, but yeah, I get you. Well, that's the thing. I think you lost your identity, and I think what Liverpool's problem is this season is that transition from Klopp to Slot. I'm saying nobody, not any Liverpool fan could have imagined we would have won the league last season, with Slot's first season. I think you turn the seasons around, and I think if we would have got fourth last season and won the league this season, there wouldn't be as much, I mean, people are calling for Slot's head. 18 losses in a season. I think any other manager would have been sacked. I do.
Yeah.
In all honesty, because football's about results. And problem is, and also, I heard boos from on Saturday, and I think once you start losing the loyal fans that go every single week, that's when you have a problem. And Liverpool
Yeah,
need to come back to that. There will never be another Klopp. You know,
yeah,
I never got to see Shankly. I mean, I'm sure my granddad took me to the ground in '76 for my first match. So I got the Bob Paisley like era, which was amazing. But I think same with Sir Alex as well.
yeah,
Had such success, and then all of a sudden that success goes away and it drops.
mm,
It's just all about building it back up. And I think
yeah,
we're a bit older, so we have patience. You know, it does wear thin sometimes with football,
mm,
but the younger generation, because they've like especially Liverpool fans in the last 10 years, we've had success. It's success, success, success every year, or you're nothing. You know what I mean? And I
mm,
just think people just need to be a bit more patient. Like you said,
yeah,
next season, let's rebuild. Let's
mm,
sort everything, not just on the pitch, off the pitch, because
mm,
that whole problem was there were people going around. Is it Woodgate? The
yeah,
church. They were going around his house and threatening him. Like,
yeah,
come on, where are we as human beings? Where you get so caught up in a game of football that you need to do something like that. It's just, and just, people are calling Slot a bald headed prick. I'm just like, you weren't saying that last year when we won the league.
yeah, yeah,
It just annoys me, Martin. I just think, we are the two biggest clubs in England, and in Europe we're in the top 10.
mm,
I just think you'll get back. It's to me, football's a bit like fashion as well. What comes around goes around. It'll come back. United will have good
yeah,
times. Liverpool will have shite times. Liverpool will get back up there. United will go down. It's just that's the way of the world. But
mm,
as football, I've learned to kind of calm down. Especially with kids. I don't go to the pub as much. Because I have the kids. Obviously, I'm in America, so I don't get to the games like I used to. I used to be a season ticket holder. So, I'm here and I watch it with my kids, so I can't swear, which is
yeah,
good. I can't throw the telly out the window, but they get me in check. They're like, Dad, okay, the team lost. Let's
yeah,
go
yeah,
outside. So, it's that cycle, but I just think we all need to kind of calm down with all of that. Even
yeah,
though, like, when the schedule comes out, I, that's the first game I look for is Liverpool Man United. It always
yeah.
has for over
Same here. Goes in the diary straight away.
yeah, and we've had good times, we've had bad times. It'll be all
Yeah.
right. It's just a game.
For me, it's yeah, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and Arsenal are all the enemy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all the big six.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we'll see. I just want this season finished, and then we'll go for there
yeah.
But Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate.
Nice one, Des. Good to speak to you.
Um, if you want to check out a certain ratio, their music, I always say I love Bandcamp. A massive reason is most of the money goes to the artist. They make the music, they should get the money. I love Bandcamp Fridays, where 100% goes to the artist, which it should. So you can go check them out at a certain ratio.bandcamp.com. If you are in the UK, please go check out their little mini tour in October. I'm sure you'll have a damn good time there. I'm hoping I'll make it in October. If not, then I'll wait for the cheaper visas for you, and maybe I'll see you in 2.5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But
No.
thank you all for listening. Please like, subscribe, put your notifications on, and as I always leave you, please be nice to one another. Let's stop with the arsehole stuff. look after one another, say hello to a stranger, you know, might be your best mate a week later on, but just be nice, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.